I'm not sure when critical thinking started having its downfall, but I'm certain that social media has definitely accentuated that downwards curve. Think about the last time you saw a post or did a Google search. You probably went to the top result that came up, the top recommended one, the one that was pushed by the algorithm. And after watching that one or reading that post, you probably went back and went to search for the next thing and just took that information at its face value. What you need to realise is that every post, every picture, every video has someone behind it, even the one you're watching right now, who has their own agenda, their own image of themselves that they want to push to the public. And what you're seeing in that video, or that post, or that picture, is what they want you to see about them. You can't take anything at face value. And I think the reason why this has destroyed critical thinking is because you have someone who's trying to put the best image of themselves or whatever image of themselves they want you to see. And it's very, very difficult to pick holes in that. For most people, you're going to go across their platforms and see a reasonably consistent personality. You're going to see what they've put out there about themselves, and it's going to be what they want you to see. So how do you then find the holes in that and figure out exactly what's going on behind the scenes that you don't get to see? You might go to look at a couple of posts from some haters or some people who have called them out for being fake, but those people also have their own agenda, their own thing that they want to push, and they're putting that out there because that's what they want you to see about them. So it becomes very difficult for an individual to get a strong understanding of someone else, other than probably the easiest way and the way that makes most sense is to think, if I was that person and I was posting that, what would be my motives behind it? Why would I be doing that? You can't do that for every single post that you see, which is why it has such an impact on critical thinking. For example, you might listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. He's got a guest on there, he introduces him, he says he's got this PhD, whatever. Are you actually going to go and look up that person, read the whole Wikipedia page, and learn about who that person is and why, try to figure out why they're on the Joe Rogan podcast before you listen to them speaking about a topic they might not even be that qualified to talk about? And at the beginning of this video I said I don't know exactly when critical thinking started having its downfall, but years and years ago we would have a society when you'd be brought up by your elders, by your parents. You didn't have a government with teachers that they put in place to teach what the government wants you to know about the society that we live in. And when we were being brought up by those elders and the people surrounding us, we would inevitably take on their beliefs and their values, and what they had taught us we would take at face value pretty much. And then when you start hearing something from outside that contradicts that, that's when you kind of see that critical thinking, and that you start to kind of have to figure out what's going on. With social media, for a long time, I feel like there was kind of a period when everyone was just being authentic, everyone was just being themselves. Then there started to be more of the news being compacted into social media. You start to see what the government, what different countries are trying to push about each other, what different political parties are starting to say about each other. And that causes some things to be pushed more than others, and then you start to get a majority starting to believe a certain thing, which then has a bigger impact on society compared to when everyone was just trying to figure out for themselves what was right, without already having that predetermined nature of scrolling on social media, looking for something and taking it at face value. So when they see a political post, they're also going to take that at face value, and 2 seconds later scrolling on to the next thing to watch another video. With social media, you watch one video after another, and you don't think about the previous one that you watched, or rewatch it even, and pause it at certain points to try to break down what the person is saying and figure out why they're saying that, because it's tedious, and because you don't You don't feel like you need to. But by the time you're 20, in today's society, you would have watched thousands of hours of content. That's all this stuff being like loaded into your subconscious. Are you gonna think about at least a little bit of that stuff that you've been putting into your brain and try to figure out why that person's saying that and kind of put some stuff aside? Or are you just gonna let everything sink in and just like determine your actions and the way you think, the way that you even want things? You have people pushing things about like materialism, you know, and you're watching this stuff and thinking, if I had that, I would be happy. That's not the case. If you're looking outside of where you are right now for your happiness, you're most likely not going to find it. And this is where it becomes difficult, because you're trying to kind of determine what's right and what's wrong. There's lots of different like viewpoints, and it's quite challenging to look at like the top post and then after that see the other things that have also supported that and contradict it at the same time and try to determine what is right and what is wrong. And here's why social media has ruined critical thinking, because it's way easier to just take it at face value than to consider what's going on with their motive, and the opposite party's motive as well. And I'm not just talking politically, but just even like influencers. Start to cut down on like the kind of content that you're consuming. I don't use TikTok, I don't use Instagram, I don't use Twitter or X, I don't use Facebook. I pretty much only use YouTube. Maybe that's a good thing and maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But if you have so much kind of information coming into your brain, it makes it a lot more difficult to think critically, to analyse what you're seeing, and to think about the motives behind it, think about your own life, because you're kind of just being put into like this world, you're just consuming this stuff. You've got one narrative, maybe you've got two maybe you've got opposing narratives. Now you have to think critically about what you're seeing. But if you're just having so much stuff from different topics at the same time and you're mindlessly consuming it, who knows what kind of effect that could have on your mental health and on your critical thinking. Which is why even Elon Musk has said it.
Critical thinking is a skill in short supply, where people take too many things they assume too many things to be true.
It is a minority. So start to cut down on the kind of content you're consuming, on the things that don't matter, the things that are just entertainment. And if you are going to try to bring back, like revive that critical thinking in your mind, look at less content, but consider both sides of the argument. Evaluate what you're seeing. And get into some books as well, like kind of listen to better content, read better content. Some people aren't going to uninstall those apps that have been feeding them mindless entertainment, and some people are. Which one are you going to be? That's the question. I hope that I've somewhat exposed the effect that social media and mainstream media has had on people's brains. You may have heard similar things in the past, but I just wanted to kind of give my opinion, my own thought process on this. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe, it'd be well appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.